and monkey mind things that are there, those clutter things. Just let them go for the next 5-10 minutes. This is your time to relax. I'm going to play a little song on the flute, and I invite you to put your attention on the sounds of the flute. And when I'm getting done, when I'm finished playing, put all your attention into the silence. In the silence. slowly. Ever so slowly. Start to bring your attention back into this room. Start to bring your attention back into your bodies. Start to roll your head from side to side. Start to roll your shoulders around. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. All right, it looks like most of you are back. How do you feel? You feel better than you did when we started? That's why we do meditation so much at Unity. It's the way it makes you feel. You feel that peace, love, and joy in this present now moment. Thank you. And switching gears here, we got Bill coming up, going to speak to us about anger. What's that? We don't know that at Unity, right? I'm sure Bill's going to enlighten us, so give him a big welcome, Mr. Bill Warner.
So what's your point? Good morning, everybody. I'm not sure why I'm up here to talk about anger after what we've gone through so far in this service. It just seems like the wrong subject to talk about, doesn't it? I mean, anger, that's not the good part of life, right? Does anybody enjoy getting angry? Oh, okay. We got some people? Really? Good. Okay. Well, I can still remember when my mother would be angry with me, because it was easy to tell when she was upset with me. It's the only time she ever addressed me with my full name. I'm sure you've heard it. You know, you're sitting there calmly watching TV with your feet up on the coffee table with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a glass of milk, and all of a sudden, William Charles Warner! I said, okay, I must have done something. So off I go to see what I have to correct. Anyway, so I guess we're going to have to talk about anger. People say anger is bad. Don't get upset. Don't get mad. If you get angry, it's not good at all. You'd better get anger under control. So I did that when I was 7. I hid my anger from the eyes of heaven. No matter what would happen to me, I remained peaceful for the world to see. I thought I had no anger, but now I clearly see that this hidden anger kept growing within me. Each human emotion is just like a child. It needs your attention or it will grow wild. So I noticed my anger, accepted its rage, allowed it to speak up as I wrote page after page, and I learned something special, for that anger can be a source of inspiration and a resource for me. People say we are spiritual beings, but besides, I'm also a human with all of my sides, spiritual, physical, with love and anger too. For would a rainbow be a rainbow if it only had blue? That is a poem by a Polish singer, songwriter, and poet by the name of Liliana Cohen, to which she clearly says that anger is a part of us and that we wouldn't be complete without it. Now, in doing our chapter today in this book, Presence and Potential, we're going to talk about taking responsibility for our own anger. And Martha Creek would tend to agree with Ms. Cohen in that taking responsibility for our anger is, and I quote from the book here, every emotion is part of our learning and growing process. She goes on to say, our maturity depends on us taking responsibility for our own emotions. No longer blaming anybody else for our stress, our upset, our sadness, or anything else. Unquote. And that would include our anger. She refers to it as empowerment. Empowering ourselves. She calls it, and again I quote, the point of choice that is the only place in the universe where we have any control. That kind of reminded me of one of our principles. Unity principle number 3. Human beings create their experiences by the activity of their thinking. And when you dig into that principle a little further, which you can do on our website, by the way, you find out that you have absolute control over your reactions. It also says, change your thoughts and you will change your world. Well, I don't know about changing the world, but we can certainly change the way that we think about anger. Now, Miss Cohen, when she started her poem, the very first line is, people say anger is bad. And there's a lot of people that believe that we would be a much better off species if we didn't have anger as an emotion. But before we join that chorus, and before we throw out the baby with the bathwater completely, let's see if there just might be some good that can come from anger. Anybody have any ideas?
A release.
I'm getting a...
Not holding it in, releasing.
Well, how about anger energizes us? Okay? It gives us strength so that we can be aggressive towards whoever wants to hurt us. We can take the fight or flight. It's built in.
A lot of inventions came from
Exactly. In our day-to-day situations, anger serves as a positive force to motivate us to stand up for ourselves and creatively to help us find solutions to what we face, just what Gene just talked about. Because that is actually another positive thing about anger, is that it motivates us to solve problems. Because when we do feel like things are out of place, we get angry. If things are not the way they're supposed to be, they need to change.
If you look at our college campuses right now, we see change is needed.
And how can we have peaceful protests if we have so much anger?
Sometimes people don't listen to peace, they'll only listen to anger.
These are all good points. Yeah, excellent. I mean, I'm going to keep covering some more of those too. But anger also propels us to find some solutions. What else does anger do? I think we've touched on it right here, was that anger makes us aware of injustice. We often experience anger when we are denied our rights or are faced with insults, disrespect, injustice, or exploitation. Anger serves as an internal guidance that says, something's not quite right here. I'm not being treated right. This isn't fair. Now, on a global level, which is what we were talking about, standing up for the lack of fairness can prevent people from taking advantage of other people. That type of anger, according to the experts, brings about a positive change in society. I'm not always so sure that anger can bring about a positive change, but it can. What else does anger do for us? It injects optimism. Follow me on this one. It can encourage us to focus on what we hope to achieve rather than merely focusing on the pain or the insult or the victimization. When we're angry, we are geared toward what is attainable from that anger. We're not geared toward the impossible. All we want to do is that through our anger, feel positive about ourselves, that we can positively have the ability to change the situation. It empowers us to take action. Here's another one that I have some personal experience with, and I won't go into detail, and Gene will not go into detail, but anger protects our values and beliefs. Anger serves as a social and personal value indicator. Anger is activated when our values are not in harmony with the situation that we are facing. Accordingly, it makes us aware of our deep-seated beliefs and what we stand for. It also motivates us to rectify or at least take action to change the situation. In our case, we got up and walked out from that incident. And I just got a "oh" from my wife. Okay.
Tell us more.
No. See me afterwards. Anger also, as another positive, I think, pushes us to reach a deeper self. We all know that anger is generally a very obvious emotion, and at times can be quite explosive. And yet, there are many emotions that can push anger to the surface. We talked about them in my other talks, about fear, being defensive. Might be the fear of losing control or the fear of being alone or rejected. Anger provides insight into ourselves because anger is considered to be a secondary emotion. Let that sink in. Anger is a secondary emotion. It is stimulated by our primary emotional states. So if we're hurt, we already have hurt feelings. If we're already in emotional pain, if we're already feeling shame and guilt or sadness, we are more sensitive to becoming angry. That is why it is very important to trace where your anger is coming from, to dig down and find out what's the cause. Is it really what was just said to you by somebody, or is it something inside you that has been triggered? Okay, where's the anger coming from? Because the only way we're going to resolve that anger fully, forever, is to deal with the underlying issue. So as a consequence, doing it this way, anger leads to self-improvement. Anger can make you a better person. You can be a force for positive change. Provides insights into our own faults, our own shortcomings, and if looked at constructively, can lead to positive outcomes. So that's some of what I could find that was good about anger. So how do you resolve anger once it's there? Well, I got a couple ways. Drink is one. Not water, of course. A great way to let go of anger, as suggested by Miss Cohen's poem, is to write it out, write letters. Write letters to the people that you are angry with and tell them why you're angry. Tell them everything. Tell them how they hurt you. Tell them how you're feeling. Don't hold back anything. Give them both barrels. And when you're finished writing that letter,
Don't send it.
when you're finished writing to them, you burn it.
There you go.
I'm sorry, you burn them. So what you do with the letter is up to you. No, but seriously, anger resolution, the best way to start is to stop. Just stop. Take a moment. Don't react immediately. Just try to listen and find out what just been triggered. Try to calm down. When done right, that can be a great thing for you. It can solve a lot of things before they even get started. When done wrong, somebody is probably going to be hurt. So who are you harming by your anger coming out in a way that may or may not be appropriate? Mostly. But I have here a quote I'd like to give from, this is from one of Joe Biden's classmates, a guy by the name of Aristotle. He says, we have to be angry with the right person and to the right degree and at the right time for the right purpose in the right way. And he added, that's not easy. No, it doesn't sound easy. The ability for us to understand that we have imperfections, we have faults, all of us, could also help to diffuse some of the anger. I'm going to startle some people here. There is no such thing as an ideal relationship. There is no such thing as an ideal mate. There is no such thing as an ideal self. The ability for us to see into the roots of our own anger gets us in touch with our feelings, whether we're feeling inadequate or powerless or worthless. But those help us get in touch and help diffuse the anger. Another way to resolve anger is taking a giant leap of compassion. Empathy can be either emotional or intellectual. Works best when it is both. The point where resolution begins is from our ability to see where the other person is coming from. We can also resolve anger with aggression. Not recommended. Because what we really need to do is we really need to be able to distinguish between something that is aggressive and something that is not aggressive but appears aggressive. Behavior that we interpret as aggressive may not be. The tone of voice, the body language, the words being used. The difficulty in seeing the actions of others as non-aggressive is a very important quality we need to develop in our anger management. So the key here is to just be sure to always check out your assumptions before you react. Now, there are some alternatives to anger. The first thing is to do your homework. Know who you are. Where are your triggers? What are you sensitive to? What are your pet peeves? What can be there that can trigger an angry reaction? Try to develop a realistic attitude towards life. I'm sorry, rose-colored glasses don't always work unless you have a guardian angel. Life isn't always fair. Have a realistic attitude. And probably most importantly, work on developing good relationship skills. Learn to listen. And when all else fails, this is my tip, when all else fails, go run 5 miles. Do 100 push-ups or 100 sit-ups. Because I'll guarantee you, by the time you get done with that, your body muscles are going to be screaming so loud, you're not going to remember what you're angry about. Now, I have to admit that this was not an easy talk for me to put together because unity to me has always been about love. I mean, everything we sang today was about love. And I'm coming up here to talk about anger. And I tried to find some positive ways to look at anger, some positive ways that we can incorporate into our view of anger so that it helps in our personal transformation. As Martha Creek says, it is here in our anger management where we have a real capacity to respond instead of react, to be more thoughtful and less knee-jerked, less instinctual, less automatic in our response. Everybody gets angry. And I hope some of what I've said today can help you. I want to finish with another poem, if you'll let me. This is by a Scottish-Canadian poet by the name of Robert William Service. He's also known as the Bard of the Yukon. But anyway, here's his poem, and it's called Character. How often do I wish I were what people call a character, a ripe and cherubic old chappie who lives to make his fellows happy. Within his eyes a merry twinkle, and round his lips a laughing wrinkle, who radiating hope and cheer grows kinder with every year. For this ideal let me strive and keep the lad in me alive. Nor argument nor anger know, but my own way serenely go. The woes of men to understand, yet walk with humor, hand in hand. To love each day and wonder why folks are not as cheerful as I. So be you simple, decent, kind, with a gentle heart and a quiet mind. And if to righteous anger stung, restrain your temper and your tongue. Let thought for others be your guide, and patience triumph over pride. With charity for those who err, live life so folks may say you were forever and always a character. Thank you for your kind attention today, and namaste.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Excellent job. I don't think you angered too many of us here today. Brian, thank you for your meditation, the flute message. Very good. Thank you. And Rose, thank you for platforming for us today. And thank you all for being here today with us.